Hey there everybody, I'm Dave Brooks with Dave Brooks Artist Development and thevocalteacher.com. I want to talk with everybody out there about exploring your niche, or your niche, whichever way you want to characterize it. It's really important that as a potential vocalist or an artist, someone, especially for you beginners, it's really important that you go about this and you start thinking like an artist, not like a singer. Leave the karaoke singing to people who have no intention of doing anything on their own and saying something, making an artistic statement. You want to think like an artist. And the way you do that is, number one, pay attention to what you're listening to every day. Because chances are that is the style of music that you're going to gravitate to, that you're going to pull from when you start your whole artistic journey. And it's important to notice these things when you're listening to the radio, your CD collection, your iTunes collection. It's critical that you go through there and really listen to that stuff, because that is a major identifying characteristic, and it's going to help you, figure out. That's the first step on the road to figuring out, well, who am I? If I was to be an artist, who am I? Chances are you're going to pull a lot from a particular genre, maybe one or two even. You may even be influenced by numerous genres, but there's always one or two, at least one major one that you lean forward and lean towards primarily, or in the majority of times. So, number one, pay attention to what you're listening to every day. Focus in on that. Number two, while you're listening to your favorite artist, don't let your passion override your reason. What I mean by that is, when you're driving along in your car and you're just singing to some artist on the radio, really pay attention to what you're doing when you're singing. Instead of just taking it for granted and doing something to pass the time, really figure out, am I hitting all these notes? Can I nail these notes that artist is nailing? But not only that, because keys can be changed, but even more importantly, am I nailing the delivery, the style, the phrasing, the licks and the trills and runs that might accompany that genre? Am I able to facilitate that with a fair amount of accuracy? You really want to pay attention to this, folks, because it's going to help you sharpen your skills as an artist. Remember, you want your brain to act like a filter. You want to filter, let in what works for you, what you're able to facilitate with a fair amount of accuracy, and then you filter out what isn't working for you. It could be a note in that particular key that you're not able to hit, so go out of your way to change that note. Look for other notes in the chord progression to change that note to that are lower, so that you can get in that song and you can sing it with power and with grace, because that it means confidence for you. But the licks and the trills and the runs, if you're not doing all that with accuracy, then you're in trouble, because what that's going to do is, I have people coming in here every day that try to mimic the artist and they're just not able to do it, and they get really, really upset about it. They actually get very irritated and demoralized that they can't do what that artist is doing. Well, I got news for you. You're not that artist. You're not them. But then, again, they're not you either. So that is a good thing. So make sure you understand that, and as you start singing these tunes, if you can't sing something, throw it away and make something else up in its place. A lot of times that's where I come in. I will literally help clients come through and recognize when they're not able to rip a lick or a trill off, or some kind of an inflection, or hit a certain type of note. Man, it's not an ego thing or a pride. Leave that at the door. You want to be able to manipulate the melody. You want to be able to redefine the lick or the trill and maybe water it down and do something that your brain is actually hearing. It's good to do this, because that's real power. Because you're focusing in, at that point, you're really focusing in on what you bring to the table. So don't let passion override your reason. Excuse me. Number three, know when to say when. Goes right back to number two. If you can't do it, don't. If you keep doing it, it's like 3 strikes, you're out. Some people it's like 8 strikes, you're out. Some people it's like almost never-ending amount of strikes. They keep on trying to do it. If you can't facilitate certain stylistic characteristics of a song, then change it. Know when to say when. I'm not a goldfish. I'm not going to stylize myself to death by listening to somebody else and trying to mimic exactly everything that they're doing. Don't do that. Know when to say when, and do your own thing. 2 and 3 kind of go together. Number 4, write. Write your own songs. Write your own stuff. I don't care if you're sitting there right now going, well, I've never written before. I don't even know how to start that process off. I can't think of any melodies. I just don't have anything interesting to say. Man, I have some incredible ways of pulling that creativity and all of that information out of my clients, which I'll share with you in another blog. But write, because it doesn't matter ultimately, even if you don't record your own songs, writing is really an act of uncovering layers, peeling off presuppositional layers. You're figuring out who you are, the way you verbalize, what kind of lyrics you use, your meter, your phrasing, your key, the songs that you sing in, the things that you do, in the way that you do them. It really brings all of that to the surface. Writing uncovers all of that. You're going to become get much closer to who you really are as an artist by writing, even if you never record your own tunes. It's crazy, but it's true. So write. Very important. Number 5, don't be afraid to experiment with what you have. Mix and match. Throw things together. Be like a mad scientist in there, running around phrasing, voicings, licks and trills and runs, and glottal strokes, and glottal stops, and dips, and excuse me, falsetto, straight toning, vibrato. All of these things that you're doing, don't be afraid to experiment with the genre that you're in and the particular song that you're in. Don't be afraid to experiment and do different things. Go out of your way to do different things, even if you think it's not any good. And typically people who think that are people who are so tied into the way the artist did it that to them there's no other way to do it. There is no other better way to do it. That's so wrong. That's wrong in so many ways. Do it your way, experiment, and throw every bit of yourself into that song. Don't be afraid to change things up. And number 6, don't force it. If it doesn't seem natural, if it doesn't feel comfortable, if it doesn't sound good to you, then don't try to force an issue because you just want to, sound like somebody else. I can't tell you how many times clients come in here and they immediately go for the artist's delivery, the artist that they're listening to. They immediately go to that delivery, and it's not comfortable for them. And they feel that it's not comfortable for them, but they literally don't think that there's another way to do it. I've got to sound like this because that's obviously the best way, because they're doing it and they're doing great. Don't force it. I have a great way, and when I coach, I have some things that I do and some processes that I take my clients through that are really revealing and lets them know that there is absolutely another way, not just one other way, but many other ways, that they can do a particular piece of music in a particular genre that doesn't seem forced or unnatural. You want to make sure that you feel really comfortable and confident singing what you're singing. So, find out who you are. Find your niche. Pay attention to what you're listening to. Don't let passion override your reason. Know when to say when. Write. Don't forget don't be afraid to experiment. And don't force the issue. It's not worth it. There are more things we can talk about later, but these are some of the most important things you want to pay attention to when you're trying to figure out who you are as an artist.